Take two. Check. So here we are with another Tuesday, going through basically some different sessions and some different features of Horizons. Tonight we're going to focus on building your first mission. So we're just going to start from scratch, create a few objectives, and go from there. Let's get started. Here we are in the Horizons Research and Development module. This is my private module that I use for creating new content, working on it until it goes live, and then I move it over to the public Horizons folder, which everyone gets when I publish updates. So here we have a list of missions. Let's start. We're going to add a new mission here. Let's call it my first mission. Okay, and we'll give it the same ID. Category. Let's put it in the general category. So, and then we want to start in the Milky Way galaxy. So the maps listed here will be any maps that you create. So it could be, the Milky Way, a map for your own sector that you've created, whatever that is. In this case, we're just going to use the standard Milky Way one. Here we go. This is my first attempt at building a mission. So we're going to leave the duration at 30 minutes, and that's an average duration, just for people to understand what they should expect out of the length of a mission. The difficulties, 5-star rating, we're going to make it a 1-star. This is going to be a pretty easy mission. And we want it to end when all objectives are complete, which means whatever objectives we define for this mission, once all of them are checked off, it will end the simulation and give them their results. So we're going to start with that. Marquee, you can actually click right in here and it'll ask you to import an image. In this case, I have a PNG here. We'll just open that one. We'll make that our mission image that you see on the mission selection screen. For the prologue, we'll do a no prologue for this mission. In some missions you can have it, some not. A good example is with the Long Patrol, you get the readout to the captain of what their objectives are. In this case, we're just going to start right into the mission. For the epilogue, we'll do the standard one, which is just the mission results. They won, they lost, what have you. So the first thing we want to do is create spawn points. So we want to obviously start somewhere, right? So let's create one called SP1. And the IDs are just whatever you want to use so that you can reference them. And this spawn point is on the Milky Way map. We'll do this in the Sol system at planet Earth. And we'll let them be cruising instead of docked at a particular location. And everything in the universe definition in terms of location is defined as XYZ. X you can think of as left to right. Y is up and down, meaning, literally if you were to raise up or raise down. Z is forward and back. So when you're looking at a Horizons map as a player, and you're looking down at Earth, and usually you start in space dock a little bit lower, the axis you're seeing up and down on the screen is actually the Z axis because you're looking down. Whereas X is left and right, and then Y is what is towards you or away from you because you're looking down on the map, if that makes sense. So we're going to start here. We'll do 100,000 back, and then let's or actually back. See, I'm not following my own rules here. And then we'll do 50,000 over. So X being left to right. We'll just kind of set it a little bit over like that. We won't worry about orientation. That's where you can actually change how they start off, yaw, pitch, and roll. But we'll keep that. Then we'll create a player to go with that. So we'll call this the Horizons. And we'll make this ASC 1864 as an alliance. Would it be possible in a separate module to change that? And by the way, if you're watching this stream and you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat and interrupt. I'm happy to answer. So change what specifically, Lance? Give me a little more detail there. And while he's typing, we're going to go ahead and put the alliance as the faction, the class is Horizon. We're going to spawn at SP1. Remember, I just created that spawn point. So we'll save that. So we now have a spawn point and player. No, the game engine understands what I described. XYZ is constant. I mean, technically, if you wanted to start where your ship is pointed up in the y-axis, and you wanted to have all your stuff kind of in that plane, technically you can do that. But the game engine and the map system all work in the principles I described. If we add the orientation, what are the input ranges? Excellent question. Everything is in degrees, so 0 to 360. So good question on that. Yep. Technically 0 to 360, but yes. Okay. So we've got a spawn point, we've got a player. Let's add some objectives, shall we? So we'll do reach Mars. Technically none. The question was, what's the difference between 0 and 360? Mathematically none, but it does allow you to use both inputs. Mainly because I do have people that mathematically would say 360 and 0. Mathematically they're the same, but the game engine looks at both. And they both point in the same direction. So we're going to reach Mars, make it a primary. Now the type, I mentioned this on one of my other streams. There's a lot of other types in here. Most of these are going away. You'll see where it says depreciated. The one that I commonly use now, for good reason, and I'll show you why, is opened. We're going to keep that. We don't need a description here, but if we wanted to, I could say the players has reached Mars. And we'll make that visible because that's how they're starting out. Okay. And then what we're going to do with this mission is let's actually talk about what we're planning here. We're going to start at Earth. We're going to have the player get a message from Starbase Alpha. They're going to go to Mars. They're going to encounter some bad guys. We want them to clean up the bad guys, get rid of all the, the bandits, if you will, in the area. And then once that, all we're going to have them do is return to Earth. So we want to set up the objectives for each stage. We want to set up all the things that create all of those things to happen, including the messages to communications, and then figure out how to get the mission to end. So first step is we want them to reach Mars. So once they get there, reach Mars, then we're going to have them deal with some bad guys, right? So then we want to have them deal, let's see, clear the area of bad guys, right? So get rid of all the bad guys. Now we're going to not make this objective visible. So the players won't see this one to start. That's on purpose. We'll walk through how we're going to do that. Okay. So let's add another objective here. So let's say we've gotten them to Mars. They've fought some bad guys. They've cleared the area. And so once they do that, we want them to get home, right? Get back home to Earth. So let's see. I'll do it. Just do return to Earth. The default order from top to bottom. So the top to bottom order is what you set in terms of the mission list. It does not, the order itself does not affect anything in game. So just because an objective above another is not complete does not affect. So they're all their own encapsulated objectives. The order is really up to you. Talking about the players get back home. Hemacast. If we build a mission intended for 2 ships, will we need to do anything different to allow for either both ships to complete objectives? No. Great question. So if you have a list of objectives, that applies to all objects in the game. That includes players. So, for tonight's session, I'm not going to go into detail, but you'll notice objectives can have tags here. So you could theoretically have a list of objectives that apply to a certain set of ships, players, and another set of objectives that apply to a second set of players. Like maybe, ships 1 and 2 are these set of objectives, and ships 3 and 4 are this that, allowing you to have competing objectives that are not the same. We're not getting into that tonight. Tonight we're going to keep it simple. But great question, and we can certainly delve into that in a future session. So, all right, so the players get back home. Now we're going to keep this objective also invisible. So let's see. Can someone return to Earth without going to Mars? We're going to cover that, actually. We're going to make it so they can return to Earth, but it won't win the mission because they haven't done some things first. So we're going to go over that. And then can you put in a forced order so you can't complete 3 without completing 2? We're going to cover that as well. So great questions, Lance. Let's actually dive through that. So I've got 3 objectives here. Only the first one is visible to players to start. Okay. So let's dive into the event system. So with this, actually, I apologize. We're going to stop right there. Let's get some waypoints in here, right? So these are the waypoints that the players would start with. Okay, I'm skipping around here on purpose because we're going to use these things later. So we'll call this one Mars. So they have a waypoint for Mars, and it's a waypoint type of planet. Okay, and we'll have it Mars. Now the game engine will automatically figure out, as long as you put in the correct target name of a planet or system, it will figure out all the logistics for you. You don't have to do any of the fine-tuning of the physical location in the game or the map or anything. So we'll put in Mars, and then we'll give them a return point for home as well, in case they want to go back. To your point, Lance, technically, they could go somewhere else and then go back to Earth if they wanted to, but again, we're going to make it so they can't complete the mission without that. So we've got some waypoints in there for the players to start. And by the way, the game is running here in the background, just so you see. We're going to dive in, actually. We're going to play the mission once we're done. So we'll minimize that. Let's go over here to events. So in my previous streams, I've covered the event system and a lot of the things it can do. What we're going to do here is we're going to have a few things happen when they start the mission, and then we're going to have things happen in each phase based on what's going on in the mission itself. So let's get started and say, we'll do one for starting out. And we're going to check for a duration. So all I want to do here is say we're going to wait until 5 seconds have gone by. So that 5 seconds is from the start of the mission. So it's literally going to count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5. And when that hits, this is going to then trigger whatever we do over here. In this case, let's just send a message to the player from Starbase Alpha. Now, Starbase Alpha in the base mission, or the base world, is a standard starbase that's always at Earth. So I can rely on that as I'm designing this mission. And we'll say, get on over to Mars and make sure everything is okay. So Starbase Alpha is going to be sending them a message saying, hey, go ahead and get to Mars, right? So that's just starting out. That's a nice, simple event. The event is active, which means it can trigger as soon as the conditions are met. Okay. We've got our first event there. So we know the players will then choose the Mars waypoint to go to Mars. So we want to have something happen once they get there, right? Let's do that. Arrive at Mars. So we're going to have this one called Arrived at Mars. And we're going to set planetary system enter Mars. So that means when they enter the system that matches this, in this case, Mars, this will trigger. What do we want to do here? Oh, all right, let's see. Let's add an action for, let's go ahead and let's wait. What I want to do is I'm just going to have us wait for, again, a couple seconds. This is all to just let the players get in there, have a breath before something happens. The wait is just something I'm doing. You can do whatever you want. So we'll wait 3 seconds, and then let's have some fun. Let's find the object spawn, and we're not going to name it. We're going to actually let the game engine name it. So if you leave the name blank on a spawn action, it will generate a random name automatically. But let's make it an ANAV, which has missiles and everything. It's a good fight. We'll make it a dashi, and the distance is important, so you can have it automatically spawn near something. In this case, let's have it spawn 40,000 kilometers, and everything, distance in game is in kilometers, by the way, and we'll have it spawn near the player. And I haven't really touched on this, but this is really important, is when you see me typing in something in the near or whatnot, you can do 2 things. You can type in the explicit name of a ship, Horizons, or you can type in a tag that object has. So what I'm going to do here is, in creating this spawned item, I'm going to give it a tag of dashi. Okay? So with that, when this is generated, it'll have that tag with it. So I can now use that tag in other events. Okay? For example, Lance, you were talking about or asking about how can we prevent them just going to Earth and winning the mission automatically, right? We're going to go through that. So we're near the player, And player is a standard tag you can use for player ships, one or any. So it could be, if there's multiple ships in the game, same player can equal all of them. So as long as one of the players is near something, it'll spawn that way. So Dashi. So we're going to spawn the Dashi Dart. Now then, we've spawned it, but let's do something else. Notice, remember, we had those other objectives. So now we can go down here and say objective visibility of clear the area to true. So now the players will see that objective. Let's see, can you put in multiple tags separate by comma? Actually, yes, you can. And that's a great question. Yes, tags it's a one-to-many relationship. So let me clarify that, Science Rob, for your benefit. Is when you're specifying tags, for example, here, okay, those can be multiple tags. So you're basically applying that set of tags to that object. So it could be Dashi, comma, enemy, comma, whatever, right? What I do want to clarify is when you're setting a target tag, like near, this is a good example right here, okay, that will be a tag. So, and that's by design. So it's always one to many. So I can look at a tag and look at an object, and that object can have an unlimited number of tags. So you can have a mixture to say, like, these 20 ships are enemies, but these 10 are, I'm going to tag them as group A, and I'm going to tag the second set as group B. And then I could actually reference them. All 20 is enemy. These 10 is group A. These 10 is group B. It's entirely up to you. So we'll save that. So now I've made that objective available. So on communications, we'll see that pop up. Okay. So we have that. So now we've arrived at Mars. It waits a few seconds. It spawns the bad guy, and we got to deal with the bad guy. So now let's add another event where area is clear. So what do we want to do here? We want to ensure that they have actually done the work and gotten rid of the bad guys. So add condition. So we're going to actually do this object count of, what tag did we use? Dashi, okay, is equal to 0. So I'm using a tag here, just like I described. And again, that can be any tags you've assigned in-game to anything that you've put in your mission. Or an explicit name of an object, like the name you've given a ship, for example. It knows to handle that. So we basically want to make sure that once they've cleared the area, the Dashi is 0, okay? Then, and we're going to add an action here. Then we'll say, send a message to player from Starbase Alpha again. Great job. Now I'm going to show you something else. You can actually also use placeholders using brackets. There's a short list that is available. The most common one is bracket name. That is the name that the message is addressing. So in this case, it would be, we named our ship Horizons. This would be Great Job, Horizons. Time to head back to Earth. Okay, so we'll do that. They've cleared the area. Then I'll also set the objective visibility of return to Earth to clear. So now we're showing that one. So now they'll see that. Okay. Do the variables also work on tags? Do the variables also work on tags? Oh, I apologize. No, variables are just explicitly named. So the variables themselves are, you would reference them directly, for example, like this. So you could actually set it that way, if that makes sense. I understand your question, but yeah, variables are just explicitly like whatever you call those variables. And variables are typically used to store a value, not so much reference a collection of something. Right, so a variable might just be the name of something, or it could be a count. I see what you're saying. Aha. Lance, no. So just to clarify, what Lance is asking is, can I use a variable as a tag? Right, Lance? That's what you're asking? So in other words, the variable can then change that. Today, the answer is no, but I'm writing that down because that's an absolutely wonderful idea and actually pretty easy to accomplish. So, no right now. Yes, I'll implement that because that's a great idea. In fact, give me a moment. I'm writing that down. Okay. So, where were we? All right. So, we're adding the event. The area is clear. We've got the dashi count to 0 and message to the player starbase and then return to Earth. So, we've got all that. Now, this is important. Okay. Remember, when we come into the area and we've got the arrive at Mars there, okay, we wait a few seconds before we spawn the bad guy, right? So if this event were to check that count, then it would be 0 and automatically work, right? So we don't want to do that. So we want to unmark this as active, okay, and then save that. So why did I do that? So this event can't fire while it's inactive. So we don't want it to attempt to fire until we're ready, right? So let's go back to arrive at Mars. Okay, we wait 3 seconds, we spawn the dashi, we set the objective clear the area to visible, but now I'm going to do this. Event enable, area is clear to true. So I'm allowing this event to now check as things occur to see if it can be triggered or not. But this happens after I've spawned the target that I'm counting. So this way, it will be true when I've killed the bad guy. Okay? So you see what I'm doing there? So it's a series of events where I'm allowing an event to stay dormant until I'm ready. And then once I spawn that bad guy, I don't have that other event available and I can check against it. So we've got with this small mission, we've got one last thing to do. And that's, we got to add an event for welcome home. Okay. Add condition, planetary system enter, Earth. Now, Lance originally asked, can we make it so that they can't complete this, right, unless they've done something else? So let's go ahead and at least add the action to, we're going to complete the objective of return to Earth to true, but we're going to add a different condition. We're going to make sure that the objective complete of clear the area is also true. Let's see, Hemacast. Is it possible to drag and drop actions? Like if I wanted to add an action to the top of the list because I forgot to put it in the wait 3 seconds. So let me show you this. I'll just play around here. I'll just put in another wait action. Okay, you see that there? You can just do that. You just drag the icon. So you put it, if you're working through the order, you can drag and drop to your heart's content. Just like that. Okay, so notice what I did here. With this event, it will not fire and complete the objective return to Earth until I've entered the Earth's planetary system and I've completed the clear the area objective. So if I went to Pluto and came back to Earth, I'm not going to win the mission because I haven't done everything I need to do yet. So Lance was applauding the fact that delete works. Yes, I know. Small miracles, small miracles. So, okay. We've got objectives. We've got events to handle the different things we want to do. We've got a player. We've got a spawn point. Let's try this. Why not? So let's go back into here. Let's go to our missions. And looky there. My first mission. And there's the image we set. So we'll go ahead and load that up. And here we are at Earth. So let's look at our waypoints. There are the 2 waypoints we created, Mars and Earth. So let's go to Mars. Have a little fun here. Whoa! Okay, we're at Mars. Let's see what happens. Count a few seconds in. Suspense. Oh, there we are. And we're being fired upon. Time to go to red alert. And by the way, I have the audio in the game turned off if you're wondering why it's so quiet, so that we can actually talk. I've raised shields and I've gone to red alert, but we need to do a little bit more than that. So let's reload here. I had this from an old mission. And intercept that guy. Okay. Let's use the big dogs here. By the way, I'm seeing a bug, if any of you are noticing at home. Yeah, the green thingy, right. There's a green thingy heading towards the red thing. All right. So it looks like it's not showing our cute little bad guy here. That's okay. And our shields are taking a beating. All right, let's see how it's doing. Oh, we got it pretty good, so let's keep going. Let's get some more missiles in there. We're within range to fire on it, so we should be... Yep. How are we doing? Oh, we're not doing so good. Let's get this guy taken care of quickly. Or what do you say? Oh, he's hurting. Hurting pretty good. Come on now. All right. Let's see. What do we got here? Fire, fire. Boom! Gone! And... Great job, Horizons. Time to head back to Earth. So, we got the bad guy, and now we're ready, right? And let's go. Okay, so is it possible to slow down the warp travel time? Technically, yes. I need to add some details in there for you, but yes, it is absolutely plausible to do that, because there is a game engine number for the multiplier for the FTL travel speed. It is not exposed in the UI for the designer, but it could be. Today it has a standard number, but it is programmatic. All right, so let's go back over here. And there we have it. Your basic starter mission with some objectives you saw as we went through. We got the messages as everything completed. Let's see. Syntax. Can the FTL time be adjusted per ship and not globally? Yes, that's what I was referring to. I just need to make that exposed because actually the FTL speed is based on your component for FTL travel. So there is a global multiplier, but then that multiplier is added onto with the FTL component's capability. So an FTL component can be faster or slower than another. And of course, if it's damaged, you can also be slower, if that makes sense. We haven't really spent any time going into components and some of those things in our previous streams, but you'll see us get into that in the future. That's a great question, Syntax. So that's kind of our first starter mission. Gang, Lance, Syntax, Hemacast, those of you that have had questions before or any new folks, anybody have anything else they'd like to ask? Tonight was a shorter stream, but we just wanted to go through a nice sample starter mission to show everybody how few steps it took to create a little walkthrough mission. Let's see. All right. When do you think it will be possible to view the Horizons in read-only area? So Lance, and the question Lance is asking is, in the designer tools, in production, you can't actually look at all the components and definitions in the Horizons module because that's the proprietary module that ships with the game. I am going to be making it read-only, so you can go in there and look. You just can't touch with that. And Lance, I'm putting that in part of release 20. We're on release 19 now. Release 20 was going to be tonight. It's likely going to be tomorrow in terms of what we're working through. I just have to finish up a few things, and I had to get ready for tonight's stream. But it'll be in release 20 for you. And then, let's see, Syntax. Can you show something with some comm channel dialogue? We can do that in a different mission. Let's see. Yeah, and what Lance is asking is he couldn't really grasp this without seeing the underlying stuff. Basically, see one, do one right? See how I did it with a certain mission, then you can kind of copy that and then figure out how to do it on your own. Pro tip, I'm setting this out there for everyone. Something you can do today is if you go into the mission folder of Horizons, you can see the missions that are out there in an XML format. You can copy that mission, take that file and put it in your own module. The only thing you have to do is when you go in, just edit the XML and change the ID and the name of that module to something else, right? So it doesn't overlap. And then that mission would be in your module, and you can edit and play with it to heart's content. Now, that's a trick, but you can certainly do that. Will you be doing a stream with a changing or creation of a map? Yeah, the intention is we'll do a stream for kind of each chunk of the editor as time goes by. I can tell you the plan for next week. Next week's will also be a shorter stream. Next week, we're just going to focus on taking an FBX model, a 3D model, and its textures, and how do I compile that, and how do I get that into Horizons and use that? Because really the only external resources that you have to do anything with for Horizons are textures and 3D models. Everything else you can do in the designer with the tools we have there. So I'll be doing a short stream on just taking an FBX model. We'll take a look at the model. We'll take a look at the textures. We'll use the monogame content pipeline tool to compile them. And then I'll show you actually in the designer tools how to add them into the game as well. So that'll be next week's stream. With that, I think for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, again, if there's any other questions, shoot them at me. Otherwise, we'll call it a night for tonight's stream. A nice, simple one, but hopefully it was a good overview for what you can do with just a couple steps to create a framework for a mission and just kind of get your feet wet as you go through designing future missions for Horizons. All right. Again, thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday week as we shift into Thanksgiving for those of you that celebrate that. And we'll see everybody next week. Arik out.